We have a video coming up that we hope will be very helpful to you. But before watching, consider clicking here to subscribe. I'm Martha Hunt, and I love to sew. See if you can see the little curves and the little jewels. I had my own sewing business for about 7 years, but now I have grandkids, so I've quit my business, but still wanted to have people able to learn how to fix things. Tell me what you want changed.
Okay, I want sleeves and a back on it.
Okay, let's see the back. She loved the fabric, she loved the colors, she did not love the halter, and she did not like the little jacket that came with it. She allowed me to use the jacket fabric to make a back and a front. This is a great t-shirt to be wearing because you can see where the sleeves should go, where the shoulder line is. So I'll have to do a back, and we'll actually need to do a little front here so that there will be a place to attach the sleeve. Find a pattern with shoulders and sleeves closest to the size of the dress. I actually went to the store this week to make sure you could find a pattern that has set-in sleeves. In this pattern, we want the front bodice, which is number 1. The back is one piece. We only need the top part, but we'll get number 3, and then we'll get pattern piece number 7, which is the sleeve. This is a long sleeve, but it will have markings so that you can make it shorter. To learn how to add sleeves to the dress, see our video coming out next week. Use a permanent marker and wax paper to make a pattern piece that we can play with. After we've pinned the darts in place, we'll fit the pattern to the dress while Avalon's in it. Okay, so we're gonna hold the wax paper so we can see where the color change is. We want the back of the dress to look similar to the front, so it looks like this was the original construction. Make this part cream and red and the top part red. So I'm going to pin down the pattern pieces to some lining fabric. This will be the inside of the dress, but I'm going to make it exactly like the outside. This is the shoulder dart so that you'll have room to move. And you see this little dot, I'm going to just fold it back and use a piece of chalk to make a little dot. And you can see there's 2 dots there. So fold it back and put a dot here and a dot there. So now you flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. This is on the inside of the lining, so it won't show. And then you take a pin and poke it through the 1 dot right in the middle. This is so you'll have a point. And you take another pin and poke it from 1 dot to the next dot. Fold it in half. You start your needle right here. You go back and forth through this dot and then just aim towards where this pin is. Let the thread run off the edge of the fabric. When you're done, you'll take the 2 pieces of thread, tie them in a knot twice, and that will make the dart on the front that will look like this. Okay, now we're going to pin the back top to the back bottom. The corner lines up just straight, but when you get to the end, you'll see that the top is pointing up and the bottom's pointing down. So we need to scoot the fabric around to make it line up, and then pin it there, and just keep doing that all the way around the curve. But once you get it sewn and put it down, it should lie flat. Okay, so you see where it's kind of wrinkly right there? I needed to clip the curves so it will lie flat. Sew the back and front shoulder seams together. We've got the lining all put together. We're going to separate the dress lining and the dress front and remove the halter straps. So we will have it open all the way. I'm going to separate all the way through here. We'll use this little seam ripper. It has a little magnifying glass. You don't need it unless you're blind like me. We're going to pick the entire bodice top apart, so once we put it back together it will look like that's how it was made. You can leave it and just sew through all the layers when you add the bodice if you don't have the time or would rather do it that way. Okay, so now we have pulled apart all the lining from the front and we will be pinning and sewing the lining, pin it in and sew it onto the outside part. This will just be basted in, which is long stitches, easy to pull out, and then have Avalon try it on for fit. Then if we need to adjust the pattern in any way, that's the time to do it. This front part here, we kind of curved when we were cutting the pattern, but I think it would look better straight. And then the last part, back here where we're gonna lace all the way up, I don't know if you can see this, if you like the big one or the smaller hole for lacing.
Smaller.
Okay, that's what we'll do. And everything else looks like it'll fit perfectly. This will be match the skirt. From here up will be red to match the sleeves. And the front down to here will be red. Now that we know how it fits Avalon, I'm going to unpick everything that I just did. I'll put an extension on the back so that it's a little bit wider, so she'll have a smaller amount to lace up. Now I'm picking apart the jacket. Now that we have the jacket fabric ready, we're using the same pattern pieces as we used to make the lining to cut out the red fabric. To make this piece, I used what we trimmed off the bottom of the dress, off the skirt, but none of the pieces were quite wide enough. So I had to put two pieces together, and then it looked kind of funny having one seam. So I just stitched along kind of halfway there. So now I'm going to put the bottom piece to the bodice back together, just like I did on the lining. Now we're clipping the curves so they will lie flat. Use a dry iron so you won't risk making water spots. Now we add the front piece to the back at the shoulder seam. Once that's done, pin the outside to the lining, right sides together. Then we'll trim off some of the excess, cut the corners, and clip the curves before turning and pressing. Use a warm dry iron to press things in place. Then pin together the outside and lining of the bodice's raw armhole edges and the edges that will be attached to the dress. We're going to zigzag over these edges because they're starting to fray, and because this will go down inside the dress so you won't see it, and this will be sewn in with the sleeve so it will disappear as well. When we're done with this, we will top stitch really close to the neckline so it will hold its shape well. Next, we will baste the front and back piece or shoulders to the dress. We've already got one side attached. You can see the inside, here's the lining of the dress. We want to match so that right here where this seam is and how far out this goes, we want it to be the same. So this is the front. To put over here, we're going to measure how far out it comes from that seam to here, and then we're going to take where we just pinched it and put it right where the seam is on this side, pin it in, pin this one up so it matches, and then pin along down to the underseam. You'll notice the underarm is not yet sewn together, but we're not too worried about that because we need to make them match up, and we might need to do that by hand. Now we're going to do this same thing on the back side of the dress. So get the lining out of the way. Here's the back side. And now this right here is going to cover this so it doesn't look like it was attached. So that's why we're starting with the seam with the loops and matching it up to the line where the red meets the other fabric. Pin it in there. And then just go along the back here. Pin the new red and cream piece right on top of the original red and cream piece, which we did not remove. Once it's pinned, we will hand sew the new piece in place. Here's before, and here's after. If you would like to see how we did the ruching or lace closure, watch for our videos coming in a couple weeks.